What's up, y'all? This is your boy Amit, and today we are going to look at Ollama on your local machine. They just dropped something big, huge, and if you're running AI locally on your Mac, then this changes everything. So, up until now, running local models on your Mac it worked, but it was slow. The tokens took forever. Now, with the latest release from Ollama, that has supposedly changed everything, made it better, made faster caching, and essentially, Ollama has rebuilt their entire engine to work with Apple's own machine learning infrastructure on their M5 silicon chips. The numbers they're reporting are 1850 tokens per second on Prefill and then 134 tokens per second on Decode. Prefill is your prompt that you give it to the AI, and then Decode is where you get the answer back, where you see the AI typing that text back to you. And in this video, we're going to download the Qwen model using Ollama. We're going to test it out, see how snappy, fast it is. There is one catch though. Currently, the new Ollama model only works on the 32 gig Apple models. So if you're on a 16 gig model, hang tight. This video might still apply because they're continuously upgrading. So with that, let's get started. All right, and this all started with this email that I received a couple of days ago on how they have made Ollama faster. And it accelerates the demanding work for Mac OS, such as running OpenClaw, running Claude Agent, and it has done all the analysis on the Ollama 0.19 model versus 0.18 on the Prefill and also on the Decode, and then a bunch of other stuff. So I have downloaded Ollama on this Mac, but I have not yet ran it. Before we do, a couple of things to note here. I am on a 36 GB unified memory for this RAM, and I'm running on the M5 Max chip. So just note that your mileage may vary depending on which Mac you're running this on. To download the new model, you can simply copy this command, and I will put all of this in the description, paste it in your terminal, and this is going to download the 21 gigabyte Qwen 3.5 model on my Mac, and then I can run it locally. So you can either do this in the terminal, or you can download the Ollama app and you can load a model from here. Just be sure to load a local model. So again, you can go to the Qwen models and download the local Qwen model here. But I'm doing the Qwen 3.5 model using the terminal. While that model is downloading, here are some of the things that you need to know about Ollama. First is a little bit of comparison between what your traditional GPU looks like. So your traditional GPU, your graphic processing unit, or your graphics card, is taking commands from the CPU, right? So your CPU memory is sending the prompts to your GPU, that's churning the data, has the power to do it, and sending it back. With the Apple Silicon architecture, it's a unified memory pack. So you're not sending that data back and forth, which makes the LLM faster. Then I talked about the prefill versus decode earlier. So prefill is the message that you are sending, which is your prompt. And Ollama says that it's going to clock it at 1851 tokens per second, to be precise. And then your decode, which is the output coming back from the model, is going to run at about 134 tokens per second. Again, this is something that we're all used to with cloud-based LLMs, where they have that power to send you that request back faster. And now Ollama is claiming that this can also happen faster on your local machine. Next is the quantization using the NVFP4, say that out loud 5 times, model, or not the model, the architecture. So a little bit about the architecture, and let's just switch to plain English here. Qwen has 35 billion parameters. Right? So 35 billion numbers stored in the memory. Now, this is kind of like the evolution of how the LLM's working and how Ollama is doing the processing. 35 billion numbers that need to be stored Each parameter is a number that makes the model work. The question is, how precisely do you store these numbers? The more precise they are, the larger storage it's going to take. So a 35 billion parameter model is going to take a lot of storage. However, you can cut that down. The size of that model would be 65 gigabyte if you want to be super precise. Example here is if a price needs to be $14.99. But what if that price could also be $15, which is and that cuts it down by half to 35 gigs. But what if instead of 15.00 you could do 15? And that cuts it down to 20 gigabytes. Now that 20 gigabytes was rounding it to 15 from 15.00 using the old Q4KM method. Now what NVIDIA does, and that's what Ollama is following, is the NVFP4 method, which still gives you that rounded number, but decreases the size by 20%. So from 20 gig, you go down to 18 gig. And this is the comparison, and that's what Ollama says is going to happen with this new model. There's also smart caching, and how the smart caching works is your first prompt isn't cached because there's nothing to cache, but your consecutive prompts keep getting cached, especially for your OpenClaws and your Claudes of the world. That's huge because now every time you send a prompt, it doesn't need to decode all the context because the context is cached by the model. And then this is what your entire pipeline looks like. You send a prompt, it gets cached, you have your prefill, uses the GPU neural network that Apple Silicon architecture already has, decodes your response back, and then sends you that response. And then it's using the NVFP4 weight to cut down the model size. With that, let's go back to our terminal and see if our model has downloaded. All right, so it looks like our model is downloaded. It says success. So now we can send it a message. And remember that first prompt that you send is going to take longer, but apparently every consecutive prompt is going to get faster and faster and faster. And this is running on locally on your machine. So you have no token limits. You can use as many tokens as you want. You might trade off a little bit of speed compared to what you're going to get back, which is you don't need a cloud model. You don't need to pay your subscriptions. All right, so the model has replied. It took about 5 to 6 seconds to get this response. But now with that quantization, I don't know how to pronounce that, it should get better with each response. So I'm going to now give it another question. So this one is write a 200-word introduction to the story about the archive, a hidden bunker built to preserve human knowledge. This is going to test the creative thinking of the Qwen model and also see how fast Ollama can respond. Of course, if you're using a cloud model, that's going to be faster, but Ollama claims that this local model is going to be pretty fast. So let's see how fast it can generate this response. And what we're going to do is we are going to continue to iterate on this exact same story. But let me also try to open up my activity monitor here to see how it's chewing up memory on my Mac. So you can see the memory is currently fully being utilized. I have 36 gigabytes of memory and I am at 32 gigs being used. So all of that memory is being used by the LLM to process just that 1 or 2 sentences of information. That's a lot of memory. And that's why we need the NVIDIA DGI Sparks or the tiny Pocket Labs of the world, because no matter how powerful your local computers, it's still going to bog it down with simple requests. Now, on top of that memory usage, I'm also recording this video. So the video processor is taking up memory as well, but most of that memory is being consumed by the LLM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video recording, but record with my phone and show my screen so you can see as soon as I stop the video recording off my screen, how quickly this processes. I have stopped recording from my screen, and now I've switched to my phone camera. And now this process should move much faster because my video recorder has stopped eating up the resources. So this is now purely Ollama resources that are being consumed to answer my question. And even though I am on my MacBook Pro that has the M5 chip, it is still struggling on the Ollama Qwen model. So I'm not sure how much of a speed gain we have got with this local model. The decoding is taking a super long time. I'm going to keep this video running to see how long it takes to get this 200 word introduction produced by Llama. I'll speed up the video so you don't have to suffer through this. All right, folks. I had high hopes from Ollama. I am absolutely 100% not sure what happened, why it tanked, but that was painful. And after 4 minutes of recording from my phone, I gave up and I had to delete Ollama. And now performance is back. And for now, at least for now, this MacBook Pro cannot handle Ollama. So I don't know if Ollama hasn't done what it says it has done, or my MacBook Pro M5 chip just isn't ready to handle that heavy duty LLM. Even though it was just 21 gig, it was crawling. So I hope your experience is different. Maybe you're watching this and you can tell me, Amit, you did something wrong and that's exactly why it wasn't working. Please, I hope that's the case and not that my machine cannot handle that. But with that, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep prompting.